those that could join us, which was awesome. And we're kicking off the Fitter Club, and I want to welcome everybody. I'm going to have the panelists do a little intro of themselves. I'll introduce myself and kind of give you an overview of what we're trying to accomplish, and I will moderate our panel. They don't know what's coming yet. They know a little bit, but the idea behind this program was that for the past few years, I've been trying to figure out how to best educate and get people on a track for a really healthy life. And I guess part of it goes to the fact that my parents are aging. My dad actually passed last year. But they're doing, he made it to 93, so that's pretty good. I have family that's gone to 100. My grandmother, his mom went to 105. And she ended up having to have care because she was up on a ladder gardening and her bone broke, so as a result she fell. And coming back from that at age 100 is really hard. But she still went another 5 years, and she was mentally 100% there. So my sister and I always joke about it, like, okay, we got to do the stuff, the right stuff, so that we're around for a long time. I was an older mom at 36 and 38 with my boys. And so, I know that at the track I went, if they're following in our family heritage, they're not going to have kids until they're in their 30s, and they're 23 and 21. So I better be healthy to be around for my grandkids. And so each year we've done a Ready, Set, Snow challenge. One year I really tried to make it all about the longevity and stuff, and it was just hard. And I thought, well, if we can do more on really that education piece, I feel like we have a really good community with the Run for Women. Maybe we can make it more fun and a way to learn and be active and, engage our community in a different way. So the idea this year is that we're going to have these 4 sessions, and each session is going to have a different focus. But then over the course of the month, we'll be feeding information. We've got goal sheets. We've got water bottles for everyone with stickers to hopefully kind of support that journey with little chunks of I can do this, because I love this information. I do a lot of research on it, so I get really, really deep, which I realize is probably not helpful for everyone. So that's why I wanted to bring panelists in to talk about those ways that we can really make this work for everyone. So our panel today is focused on community, because if you look at any research, one of the keys to longevity and living healthy, happy lives is having a good community. And it's that social, right? And it's, the changes after COVID, it was big. And I now coach at the high school level, and you can tell the kids still haven't figured it all out. But, you get out of those forced environments where you're with people, and I think it becomes very, very challenging. And now a lot of people are working from home, and they're doing all these different things that I think makes it very, very challenging to have that strong community. So we've got some experts here today to talk about that. So Christy, I want you to introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Christy Gustafson-Barletti. I've been at the Times Union for more than 2 decades, and my job is primarily to build community. But I'll say a little bit about movement. I had back surgery 2 years ago, and when I had the surgery, they said to me, the most important thing afterward is to move, move, move. So I think my watch told me today, I'm on my 388th day of walking 3 miles a day, like straight. So that made me feel really good and proud, because I don't run, but I love races, and I always feel really good when I'm done. I'm like, I want to do that again. But I have incredibly long legs. If you saw me stand up, you would see that I'm 6 feet tall, and it's all in my bottom half. So my very good friend at work, she's 5'1", and we have done the Delightful Run together before. And she jogged the whole way, and I walked the whole way next to her, and we stayed together the whole time. So I'm like, hey, it works, and I can stay. She's 5'1", I'm 6 feet tall. And we stayed together the entire time. We've done the corporate challenge that way as well. So I used to laugh at this commercial when I was younger for a local older retirement community, and it said a body in motion stays in motion. And people out there in the commercial, like doing the Tai Chi or whatever it was. And I would sort of mock it, and now that I'm in my 40s, I'm like, oh yeah, body in motion stays in motion. I got to keep my body in motion. So I like to move, sometimes with other people, sometimes by myself, but I think community is very important.
Hi everyone, my name is Olivia Fremont, and I am the ambassador for Black Girls Run. Black Girls Run is a national organization that was started in 2009, which two sorority sisters started to help women of color hit the pavement. At that time, African American women were the #1 statistic with diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, and so they were on campus and they decided to come together and just start moving, whether it was before a test, after a test, in between classes, just to get a movement going. Fast forward to today, I started the Albany chapter in 2016. Yes, 16, so we have been in the Capital Region for 8 years. We have about 1,000 members, and I really started the chapter here because with my movement journey, after the birth of my twins, one of my beautiful children right there, Gabriella, after I had her, I was told that I had high blood pressure. Had an amazing pregnancy. I had my twins naturally. It was beautiful, but I had an 18-month-old and I had newborn twins. So yeah, a little high blood pressure, right? So I started my journey by moving, and when I started moving, I joined the New York City chapter, loved it, saw the Black Girls Run community, and I said, hey, we should have one up here. Movement is very, very important. I love it. I started my run journey. It's been 8 years. I met Kristen like immediately as soon as I had my twins, and it's just been a blessing. Community is very, very important to me, and I think that the more the merrier. So that's why I'm here.
Hi everyone, I'm Yolanda Kirby. I'm with the United Way of the Greater Capital Region. I'm also here representing the Director of Community Animation at the Blake Annex, and also this year we have started, and I say we, Angelique Powell has started the Blake Annex Run Club.
What is it?
The Blake Annex Run Club. It's internal, our staff
Okay.
have,
Okay.
and we run on Tuesdays, and by we, it is not me. So, but I'm part of the community impact team at the United Way, so community is important to me, it's been a passion, and I look forward to sharing strategies and meeting all of you. This was a little bit of a, Angelique was supposed to be here and double booked and asked if I could step in for her, so gladly, and wonderful to meet all.
Yeah. So Olivia, let's start with you. You, you obviously did some things with Black Girls Run.
Mm-hmm.
How hard was it to build the community up here?
So, at the time, the previous owners, they were kind of restricted on how many chapters they wanted to have nationwide. So they figured New York State, New York City, New York City equals New York State. So I'm like, no. And it was difficult at first because I literally, at the time, I was running races down in New York City because I wanted to qualify for a marathon. And so I found community within the Black Girls Run New York City chapter, and I'll give you exactly what happened. So I go down there, it's January, I'm doing my first 10K down in Central Park. And I'm standing there, now mind you, I just had the twins were about 6 months old, this is January after they were born. And I'm standing there in the cold, I took a Greyhound that morning at 3 a.m., went to the city, this is how crazy and determined I was. Went to the city, took a train, got to Central Ave, and I'm gonna do this race. I'm gonna do the race, finish, and then get back on the Greyhound and come back up, because I got the babies at home, right? So I'm standing at Central Park waiting for the race to start, and I see a whole bunch of women standing there. And I'm like, la la la, you know, just standing there by myself. And one of them says, hey, you. So I'm like, me? And they're like, yeah, come on over. And that was really how I, found, or they found me, Black Girls Run. So I go over, I say, hey, my name is Olivia. They're like, oh, you're racing today? I'm like, yeah. Like, where are you from? I'm like, Albany. Albany? Like, yeah. Albany, New York? Yes. You mean Albany, the state capital? Yes. And you came down? I'm like, yeah. So they introduced me to everyone, and I was dubbed Albany. And, and so the race starts. Now, this is my first time running a race at Central Park, so I don't know, of course, I didn't look at the course, I'm just going to run, because I want to qualify for the marathon. I get to mile 5.8, and I started cramping in my left leg. So I'm like, okay, and I see the finish line, but I'm like, okay, got it, I'm almost there, just got to keep moving. moving. When I tell you, I saw about 15 of the women at the finish line. They saw me struggling. They ran back and said, "Omni, what's going on?" I said, "My leg is cramped. You guys didn't tell me it was this hilly. You embraced me and you didn't tell me about the course." So they're like, "Come on, let's go." I'm like, "Really?" They looped my arms and they ran me through the finish line. That was it. That sealed the deal for me because I'm like, oh my goodness, here I am, this perfect stranger, and this bunch of women just embraced me and took me into their community. I saw that. I loved that. And one of the women at the end, she's actually one of the New York City ambassadors today. She's one of my best friends. She said, "Liv, no woman left behind. Doesn't matter. Yeah, it's called Black Girls Run, but it doesn't matter what race you are. No woman is left behind. So if you see someone struggling on the pavement, our goal is to support you and get you to the finish line." So I was sold. I harassed the owners at the time and I said, "Listen, this is what I did, this is what I saw, this is awesome, I need to start a chapter in Albany." It took me 3 years of harassing the heck out of them, and then finally I was able to launch in January of 2016. So it was a blessing, and it all started with that community, because I was alone. I could have, hobbled off. I could have quit. I've seen this happen many times at different races. You get to a point and you're struggling. You don't feel supported. You feel lonely, and we back up, right? But when you have that support, that community, it could change the trajectory of everything you do. So that's always been my mindset, and that's always been my drive when I started the chapter here. And I'm like on a mission, because everyone can do anything with the support of others. So.
All right, we're done. That's so awesome. So Christy, talk about, you've built a community. It's a very different community. So, it started as part of your job, but it's grown.
It's big, and nobody's helping me across the finish lines, but I wish they were. That's an awesome story. But so I started blogging probably 18 years ago or so. Blogging was really new. And so it was almost like I didn't know what I was doing, but I was also able to kind of carve the path to do what I wanted to do, because there weren't a lot of people who had already done it, so there weren't examples and there weren't rules and ideas of what to do. So this is not related to running, but I'll tell this story because we have we had two other blogs at the time, a politics blog, but a lot of people did that, and a food blog written by my colleague Steve Barnes. And my editor, who I liked very much, but I wanted to write about fashion and style and things to do in the Capital Region, and she said to me, "Christy, everybody has to eat," meaning that's why the food blog was popular, but not everybody cares about what they wear or what they're gonna go do, so I don't really know if people are going to read your blog. This is my editor, and again, I like her very much, even though it sounds negative, but her saying that made me think, well, I'm going to prove her wrong. I wanna do this. So, it took me, by the first month, okay, I start to reach up to the food blog. By the second month, I surpassed the food blog in readers. By, I think, the 6th month, I even surpassed the political blog, which was amazing because I'm by myself and they have all these people working together. But the real reason I was able to do that was because I was getting readers and more readers and more readers, and they were telling me what they wanted to hear. And my tagline at work is, what's trending in your life and in mine? So it's truly, my job is to speak to the community, understand what the community wants, and then give them what they want. So it's not just the things I like, it's some of that obviously because I'm writing about myself, but it's what everybody else likes, what they tell me they want to do, what they tell me they want to know about. And what was really cool is in the early days of the blog was also when social media was becoming pretty big. And somebody, not me, created a Facebook group for my blog to tie it together. And people started doing meetups, and they did once a month meetups. And some of the people in the group got so close that one of the women sang at another woman's wedding, which was very cool because these are people who just met through the blog. They didn't know each other otherwise. They were just your commenter, Marianne, whatever, you're this commenter, Amanda 426, and okay, you're going to sing at my wedding. There are people whose kids are today still friends, so when they met, they didn't even have a partner or anything like that. They went on to have kids. Their kids are teenagers now, and they're friends, so that just shows how long the friendships have lasted. It was like strong friendships. The kids became friends, and people have stayed in touch. And recently I was at my daughter's back to school night, and I met this woman who I recognized but had never met, but I recognized her as a reader because we're social media connected. And I said, "Are you Mary Ellen?" And she said, "Oh, Christy, hi." And I said, "Hello." And she introduced me to her husband, and she said, this is my husband, and then she said to her husband, and this is Christy, the blogger from the Times-Union. He's like, oh, that's how you met Goose and Amanda and Lee, and I thought, well, that's really cool, because for all these years, these people came together that I don't think would have met otherwise, because one lives in Delmar, one lives in Albany, another one lives in Schenectady, one lives in Saratoga, and they're different ages and have different interests, and how would they have otherwise come together? So I just think that's really cool that these friendships have come so deep that you're inviting them to not only come to your wedding, but sing at your wedding or have friends with your friends. So, I mean, that doesn't mean it's not without hiccups. There's people harassing one another and, harassing me and calling me to be fired and all those kind of things. So it's not all like fun candy cane, but there is a lot of good in the community, and that's very cool.
Yeah. Let me go to you a little bit on, so that's like your life, right? That's your work, is serving the community. And so, how do you guys look at, we have this huge community, quote unquote, right? And how do we get them mobilized and motivated and doing things?
That's a great question. How much time do we have? So the United Way, a lot of people don't know what we do, but we're a philanthropic organization, but we're also conveners. We bring people together. We bring people together to network, excuse me. I've been there for a year now, and the fire hydrant is still on. It's constantly things coming at me. We are learning what the needs are of the community and how we can either assist or bring them to where they can be assisted. So one interesting way of bringing people together is through volunteerism. You have people that, usually we have a huge 518 day, it's the National Day of Volunteering. It is geared towards our corporate partners who are donors and donate towards initiatives where we need that, but they also want to be a part of those initiatives and learning, because there's so much our community is doing and they're struggling. There's not enough people out there to do the work, there's not enough money to do the work, there's always never enough money. But bringing people together to see what is actually happening changes everything. Like you could have a run club virtually, which we learned during COVID, but how exciting is that? So a couple of things that I've worked on this year is 211, which does anybody know what that is? So 211 is a resource referral line. You can call 211, which is a really hard number to remember. But if you're looking for assistance with housing, you have a question about rental assistance, you don't know whether there are other programs to help you pay your bills, you're struggling, childcare, the list goes on and on, mental health, you dial 211 and you're connected to those resources. Now it's not case management, but you are provided with that information instead of having to research it yourself and then go around and ask. Partnered with that, and I bought cards today because I would love for each and every one of you to register, is United to Volunteer. We unite each other through volunteerism, not just volunteer opportunities, but you yourselves or your organization can post opportunities for people to come and volunteer. Our corporate partners often look at that and they're like, we have 10 people, we want to do an activity. An organization is like, we're moving, we need to organize this, we need to organize this. So you go on there and look for the opportunity. You can follow different organizations that are on there, and as an individual, you can offer to volunteer, or again, you can post your own. We currently partner with UAlbany, and we have for a number of years, and they have actual courses where their students go to different organizations for volunteering and get course credit. We also just started partnering with Union College. So right there, you want to talk about community. Students are a huge part of our community. And it branches, I mean, the reach is very wide and it's a way of networking. You never know what somebody is looking for, and some people are just shy. You don't you wanna do something, but it's like, no, I don't wanna do it by myself, and there's a lot of people out there that are thinking the same thing, so having those opportunities out there and having the autonomy to reach out and do that, like you said, you both have said, how people are empaths. I really, truly believe that, and I'm pushing that. I don't care what anybody says, I'm pushing that, because that story is amazing. Like, why, we aren't put on this earth to do things alone. So, when you're winning, I'm winning. To reach out and be able to help somebody, so when you have these opportunities to gather, and I've noticed this, that we had a maternal health panel, and what came out of that was a lot of discussion and discovery of resources and organizations that can actually help people that are floundering with childcare. Black maternal health is like, it's a taboo topic, and we were able to connect a number of people there and create a safe space for people to share and talk, so. These cards are here. This just gives you the website, because anybody can go on there and register and sign up. I had said earlier that they started the Run Club at the Blake Annex. The Blake Annex is an awesome co-working space for a lot of nonprofit organizations. Again, community. We've created a community within the community for community. It is down on South Pearl Street by the Skinny Pancake, for anybody who's familiar with Albany.
All the foodies.
Yeah, before we retired, yeah.
So, I've loved working in there because the United Way, I don't know why I can't speak today, is in there, but I think there's at least 20 other organizations that work in there. So I'm constantly.
So Girls on the Run, which is one of our charity partners, along with United Way, is based in there. And it is such a cool facility. Like, you really should go and just see it.
I should have thought, but again, I'm fake Angelique, and she would be able to tell you, the history of it is really
Oh, it's
empowering.
super cool.
And the building itself it's awesome. It's just, today we had, our team had lunch together in the main co-working space, and then all the other organizations were coming through like, hey, what are you guys doing? What are you talking about? So it's also creating that space just to share.
Yeah, that is exactly, like, I think that's super exciting, especially with the colleges, because I feel like we have all these colleges in the area, and I think we lose a lot of those kids. So if we can attract them into being more of a part of the community, that's super cool. I'm gonna change things up a little bit, Christy, because I do know, like, you're in a very challenging position in that, like, you post something and people can love it or hate it. And like, so how do you manage that? Like, as people are looking at, because part of my idea is like people will find new communities, and then how do we build our Run for Women community better? But like, balancing that and keeping everybody happy.
Well, no, you can't keep everybody happy. I can't even keep my household happy all the time. I'm sure my kids are complaining about something. But, well, I think one of the things when you say that took me a long time to come to, when I started this, I was a journalist, right? It wasn't about community. A typical journalist when I started was you had your sources and your resources, and you covered your beat, and then that was it. But then we started to move to social media. We started to move to having a brand, right? And everybody's kind of their own brand. And I was the TU's first social media strategist. And my big thing was the whole point of social media is to go out and create your own community within a community. And actually, it was about a year ago at this time, another media outlet wanted me to come work for them. And I said, well, but I've sort of built my brand with the Times Union and built my community there. And they're like, no, you have your community. Our hope is that your community will just come with you, because they're following you as Christy with the Times Union, but they're not following, yes, they're following the Times Union, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah.
you're Christy within the Times Union, or there's Steve Barnes within the Times Union, right? So you like Steve because he's with the Times Union, but really you just like Steve. So it's that kind of thing. So in the beginning, when this first started, and I was very, very sensitive in the beginning with blogs, like if you wrote me a mean comment, that comment could be, you missed a comma, or you spelled, you accidentally typed the TEH instead of THE, like obviously I know how to spell the word the, but you're typing quickly. I would call my parents and start crying, and I would cry to anybody who would listen. And I think my bosses, they were nice, but they were probably like, oh my gosh, this girl's such a pain in the ass, all she does is cry. I mean, I cried all the time. Anytime I upset anybody, I thought that my job was done, I was done, nobody was going to like me again, and it was gonna be terrible. But the more I did it and the older I got, I realized you don't have to have, like you said, how do you keep people happy? You don't have to have everybody like you all the time. You're not being an individual and you're not being your true self if you are. But I think part of establishing the community, I think one of the best compliments I get is people say, you have strong opinions, but you create a space where people feel comfortable expressing their views from either side because I don't attack you. Even if you say something completely outrageous, I mean, if you say something offensive or something that's, inappropriate, obviously I'm going to shut that down because I'm not looking to create an environment where that's fostered. But if you're just disagreeing with me strongly or disagreeing with others, I look at it and say, okay, we can all have an opinion and we can all come together because to me, you don't want a homogenous community. You don't want to be a bunch of Stepford people, essentially, because I think different views and different positions create a nice environment because we can learn from each other. And I've had people change my mind on things or help me see things from a different perspective. And I keep going back to social media because, you had said in the beginning that it's so important to be in person and how does a virtual running group run? I agree with you, right? You need that in-person contact, but I think sometimes those relationships are formed in so many different ways, right? It's not always just we go to the networking event after work. It's like we maybe get to the networking event because we've all met each other in a different space, and then we find out about the event, like an event like this, and then all come together. So I think it's important to understand you're not always going to make everybody happy in your community or your life, and that's okay. I think as long as you are open to different opinions and listening to different voices and understanding that not everybody is going to be like you, and then not being shut down and dejected by that. Like if I expected everybody to agree with me all the time, I would have quit 20 years ago. And it's just not how it works, nor do I want it to be that way. And then also be open to learning from other people, because there's certainly been, I'll give an example of a couple of weeks ago, and this is going to seem like a small scale, but it was actually a bigger scale. So I all the time pops up in my targeted ads is like fidgets, fidget toys and things like that. So I posted something that said, I don't understand why and I have 2 young children, 2 elementary age children, but I said, I don't understand why we encourage fidgeting. Like, aren't we just supposed to sit still and be, just be able to focus? And I immediately got probably 40 comments, and they were all incredibly respectful. They were like, well, no, you don't understand. This is why. Like, it helps people with ADHD. It helps people with other kind of neurological type things. And I thought, oh, wow, I didn't realize that, because I just thought of fidgeting like doing this and distracting and not realizing that it's so important to paying attention and to focus and being able to do well in school and well in the office and just well in life. And several commenters then came on, and I put a note at the top and I said, okay, edited to add, I now understand all this, but I didn't get it at first. And so many commenters said on that post, I love that this was, I think there were almost 100 comments when it was all done, that I love that there was a really respectful conversation there. And I think the reason people didn't immediately jump on me and say, you don't understand, how can you not get that there's people who need to do this? It's like, because I've created this environment over the years that says, even if I don't understand something, I'm willing to hear about it. And if I don't understand, it doesn't mean I'm ignorant or closed-minded. It's just, I hadn't been exposed to that. I hadn't been exposed to anybody who uses it for all these. And now I see the value and the benefit and all that. So I think that's another important thing. But I think if I had posted that 10 years ago, I might have gotten piled up on, and people might have attacked me and said I was insensitive and unaware and done all that stuff. So it's a time thing too. I don't think you can't build a community overnight, right? It takes, like you said, you've been here a year and you still feel like there's the fire hydrants coming at you, because it takes so much time to build a community, and there's setbacks and there's frustrations and there's disappointments. Or like you said, it took until 2016 to be able to get 3 years of begging to get the Black Girls Run together. And I think that's what it is. It's like the tenacity and the determination, and it's not like, oh, I want to start a community today and then next month it's going to be together. It's taken me probably 15 years to get here, and it can still get better, right? It can still grow and it can get better, and it'll evolve, and some people will leave and new people will come in, and people will get frustrated with me, and they may go away for good or they may come back. But I think all of that is okay, because it's where it's supposed to be at that time. I've evolved and changed, they've evolved and changed, and then we all just kind of meet together when we can. So hopefully that answers what you're asking.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think like I had somebody comment that they hated the race shirt. And I was like, what? How could you hate the race shirt? It's so awesome. And he's put so much time and effort in. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. That was one person out of 2,800? Like, okay, I'm okay with it.
And then negative people are always louder than the
Right,
positive people, I mean,
right.
that's another thing, so.
So Olivia, you got Black Girls Off and running, but you've built it, there's 1,000 women, or close to 1,000 women on that Facebook page.
996. I need 4 more.
Yeah, all right, come on, I'm on. But you know, so how did you go about actually building that? And like
And do you do a
getting,
mix of like social media and, like meeting up with one another?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
so we have, the national page, and then each chapter has their own group on Facebook. So New York City has a chapter, Albany, Georgia, everyone has their own chapter. I started the chapter here, I think it was the day after Christmas, it was like a weird time, and I'm like, I'm up for the challenge. So the owners wanted to see the interest in Albany. So they wanted me to see if I could get women to come out the day after Christmas, like what? Right, in the winter, to see if ladies would come out for a nice little leisurely walk. So I'm like, okay. So, you know, I picked up the phone, started calling a couple girlfriends, like, hey, I wanna start BGR. I'm gonna be meeting right here at the Crossings Park. It's gonna be the day after Christmas. I know holidays and stuff like that, but come on out, come on out. To my surprise, we had about 20 women show up. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. It was very cold, but we got together. I explained what my intentions were, and you know, it was well received. And you know, I found out that, oh my gosh, I've heard about Black Girls Run. I never knew that you could start the chapter. And oh my goodness, I have a cousin who lives in Georgia that, you know, she goes and they're so supportive. And that's how it got started. So February we launched, and it just spread like wildfire because my philosophy has always been going back to what my first experience was. As an ambassador, I think one of the things I will always put on the forefront, and I have a couple of my wonderful ladies here tonight, so they could probably share a little bit of that too, but I always want people to feel welcome. I don't care where you are in regards to your fitness level, if you're a runner, if you're a walker, if you're a jogger, if you're a walker. Listen, if you're a crawler, come on down. Yeah, walk, jog, and then you walk.
Oh.
Yes,
I
it's a
always
walk.
called it wanting, I like walking.
Walk.
Walking is better than wanting.
So we have ladies that kind of crawl. But no matter where you are, you have this safe environment and space where you could come, have accountability, because now if I say to Joyce, okay, today we're gonna go for 2 miles, Joyce is gonna be like, come on, Liv, let's go. You said 2 miles, let's go. And so that kind of accountability was something that really just, you know, this one told this one about this experience, and it just spread. And so ladies just kept joining. We started with 1 group run per week on Saturdays at the Corning Preserve. And just like out and back, nice and clear, where everybody could be safe and see each other and have that accountability. And then when the chapter started to grow, there was interest with evening runs. And so then I added an evening run at Washington Park, an evening one at U-Albany. So we currently have 3 runs per week, kind of settling down now with the winter. But usually all year it's about 3 runs per week. And ladies are open and available to go to whichever run they're available to attend. And again, just spreading the word, because the idea is that when you have someone with you, 2 are better than 1. If I have someone that's gonna be there to hold my hand, I know that I can get to that finish line or that goal, so.
Yeah, I love that. All right, I wanna open it up so that you guys can ask questions about, you know, building community, finding community.
So I just curious, because you're now part of the run group.
I have not yet been. I have another commitment on the days that they meet.
Okay.
So, and I'm also not a runner.
But
I was. I will do that. I will become a walker.
But the thing is, even before you become a walker, you walk, right? One of our biggest mottos at BGR is your race, your pace. So it's you versus you. If today I could walk to the end of the block, I'm gonna walk to the end of the block and strut my stuff and know that I did it in confidence and stride. And then the next day, I'm gonna walk a block and a half.
So, funny testimonial, I was excited to know that you were gonna be here because I've been very interested in Black Girls Run, and I am a former track person, I was a sprinter, so.
You were?
Yeah.
You're a sprinter, but you're saying you don't run?
I don't rise far.
I get it all the time with people that are sprinters, they're like, I'm not a runner. I'm like, well, how'd you just do that?
There's an end, and it's very abrupt.
Well, a runner has an end, it might just be a little longer.
I've never been a distance runner, and I joke because I did multiple sports in school, and soccer is a lot of running. So they recruited me for soccer. I'd never played soccer, and in order to get out of gym class, we're dating myself here, you had to run the mile in a certain amount of time. I could not do that, so I had to go to gym class, and they're like, but you're in every sport. You're on the track team. And I was like, what part don't you understand? I am not into. And my coach ran with me before practice every single day. I still did not beat that time. She was like, I've never seen anything like this. But that community right there, a lot of my friends have gotten into running. That's why I joined this run club, because walking is allowed, and I love to walk. I'm just not at that. I'm a walker though. We used to do that, and like surges, essentially, where run a block, walk a block. But
Well, we have in the training challenge, like Olivia knows this really well. There are so many women who cry when they do their first mile because they've never run a mile before, and they always got out of it too. Because they were like, I'm not running.
well, I need to know what their secret was.
Yeah.
Kids aren't getting out of it.
But it's also, what's attractive is like-minded people and meeting. We have one interest in common, but we are all vastly different. And I like, in doing community work is tough because people look at you and like, why are you helping them and not helping me? Why are you doing this and not doing this? Guess what? Not all of us are great at everything, and we need to work more together and let people do more of what they're good at. Rely on, you have a diverse, you're so strong as a diverse group of people because everybody brings a different strength to the table and encouragement. And then you have community and networking, you have endless friendships. I have FOMO, fear of missing out on everything, and I'm a social person, so I've always.
I run the run group.
Yeah.
I run the walk group.
Yeah.
Okay.
My thing is like, you can learn to walk, and it's one step at a time. We start out walking 10 minutes, and and then you pick up your pace. And we were just talking about run, walk, interval. But this is what we're kind of doing. What we're trying to do here is how do you make this a year round so that so many of our women join the challenge, they run the race, and then they don't do anything afterwards. And so how do you make that become, and part of this is here. It's like, how do we make that, using the Weight Watchers, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. So how do you make it a lifestyle? And there's, when I say to people all the time, there's no shame in walking. And I think as a fitness community, we have to take away that stigma where they hear, oh, I can't run. You're walking on your 2 feet, so that's
But now we
okay.
hear a lot, I can't walk.
Right.
We'll say, well, walk the run I can't walk 3 miles. Well, then it's like, wow, well then we need to get you to can,
Right.
because that's just
So
health.
I think part of what we're struggling with is, one, how do we make it a lifestyle? How do we keep this group together throughout the season so that they, and we do have groups that have met up and now they're their own little association, but breaking down that stigma of like, I don't believe in word none, I don't believe in negatives, there's always, I can do something. So, learning from you is how do you take that negative and how do you turn it into a positive? And I don't care how fit or not fit you are, it's a journey. and we're all on that journey, and I think the hardest thing, especially for people who did play sports and now have not, is stop comparing yourself to what you are.
Used to be's don't make honey.
There you go.
Used to be's
Oh, used
don't
to
make
be's don't
honey.
It's great vocabulary. As a journalist, I'm loving the vocabulary.
That is,
Use that in the water.
that is
Water,
very
get a
good.
shirt with the water.
Don't make that take jokes. But I just wanna point out that everybody just jumped on that and backed each other up to what encouragement. Everybody is supportive and encouraging. So I would ask, have you talked to your group about what they wanna see and what they wanna do to keep them together? What kind of activities? So with the Run Club, they all decided to do the Halloween trap. And from that, he was like, oh, well, I'm training to do a half marathon. So now you have all this support. Somebody else heard, oh, you're training to do a half marathon? You've never done that. Can I join your club? And maybe be there to support you on my level. So it's really important to be, I guess, vulnerable and talk about that. But creating those spaces to talk is really important for recruitment. But
I also feel like it's whatever the incentive is and the motivator, right? I think you have the right people asking you, like, at the last minute, I did delightful this year,
Yeah.
this week, because Lydia basically
Right.
publicly shamed me into it, and then all these readers got into it, and
Yeah.
were coming up to me and things, oh, I saw her post, are you doing it? And then I was so glad I did, and then I was telling other friends, it's next year, what is May 31st, April? Right?
Wow,
Okay.
yes.
I was like, I gotta sign up, I already know it's next, because it's fun, and I think when you get the right people, it's about the right people, right? Because we wanna be around certain people, whether those are people that have great personalities, or people we can learn from, or just people who inspire us, or we just don't get to see that often, or whatever. I think it's when you have the right people in a community, it makes you want to join that community, and then you feel like, okay, I mean, because I joke and say I was guilted into it, but I mean, you and I talked about this on the phone that day, I said, I really do wanna do it, I just needed that final push. But I think it's when you see the right people are there, it's almost like you need to have the groundwork of a couple good people, and then the branches come out, and then there's a few more good people, and there's a lot of good people, and then there's a bunch of great people, and then you all think, I wanna be part of this because there's so much greatness, and I wanna be around the great people, so.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and, the run's been around 47 years, right? So,
Oh, and I've
there's a
done
lot
it
of
before.
people that
This
have
wasn't my
experienced it. But to me, it's like, every woman could do it, right? There's no
Absolutely.
reason that we couldn't have every woman in the capital region doing
I
it.
mean, I walked the entire thing, and I was smack dab in the middle.
Yes.
So it's like there was still whatever.
Which
doubt
again,
there.
is, that's the whole.
I mean, I felt good about that, I was like, you don't even have to
Yeah.
run, I mean, I didn't even walk, I walked, and it was,
Well, you do have long
I
legs.
do have a
Like, why is it one leg? Whoa, then,
You know what I'm saying? The
No,
point
absolutely,
is, even
yeah.
at that level of not giving a single running stroke, I'm still in the middle, right? So it shows you how many different
Yeah.
skill levels there are.
Yeah.
There's like people who are lapping, like the lead lady came back around, I was like, oh boy, there she is.
No, which is so awesome for them too, because they get to see all these women cheering for them.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times when they're on a course, they're coming in and there's no one there, because nobody else's family is at the finish line at that point. So for them, it's really exciting, and they love it that they get to see all the women coming up the street. So, it works both ways.
But I think it goes back to, and, cause I'm a big supporter of like getting women, how walking, it's like, we wanna make this a community event, and everybody's part of that community, and I don't care what your pace is. I mean, we have women that's like, they're gonna walk it and they're going to, that's their pace, and it's like, that's okay. Your pace, your race.
And I feel like that needs to be emphasized more, because like I said, I went to a thing, I don't really care where I come in, but I think some people might feel a little intimidated.
Oh, absolutely,
And
absolutely.
they don't know that you can walk it, because when I say I walk these things, people are like, oh, you do? I said, oh, yeah, I'll walk it,
Yeah.
and I walk. Even with the workforce challenge, we have a lot of people who are not, with the workforce challenge, you feel
Right.
all over the place. And it's like, oh, I can go, even at my work, you can do that when you walk, yeah, you can do it. So I
Yeah.
think people hear the word race,
Exactly.
naturally
Yeah.
think that I need to get out there and run.
Exactly.
There are some though where they only, it's a run.
Well, like a qualifying, right, one that you
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
Well,
qualify.
and sometimes it's time limits.
Yeah.
and-
With the community, but that's like if you have to qualify, you don't have to qualify.
Right, but I mean,
Right.
and you're right.
Reach out to the director and say, can I walk in? Sometimes you feel weird asking them that because it says race, you know?
Well,
But that,
I know,
so,
yeah.
and that's, and it's like breaking down that stigma of
Yeah.
a race, because I'm with you, I don't run anymore, I walk really fast, but.
Yes,
She sure. Basically, I did that 10K in, what, an hour and 40 minutes, I was walking like a 14-minute mile pace, but, but it's more, but see, you say you can't walk that fast.
I mean, I
but you
can
got-
walk that fast if I really want to.
But it's learning the technique. So, but here's my thing is like, I don't ask permission. I just go out and walk the race.
And what's the worst thing that happens? You walk it.
The truck comes up behind you.
I've
and says,
been
"Time to get off."
second to last. The first stockade-a-thon I ever did, I was second to last. But you know what? My name was in the Gazette that morning, that next day, and not that you, but yours wasn't. My name was in the newspaper, and somebody else's wasn't, so I was like, yeah, I had the police car following me, you know, I'm like, I'm fine. I'll get there when I get there, let me just finish, I just wanted to finish it.
Right.
I just wanted to know.
I don't even need you behind me, please God.
No,
You
I
can
know,
go.
like, you can go away, it's fine.
Well, we started
Yes.
the Greatest Endurance Award for the people who come across the line
Love that.
at the end, right?
I love
But
that
it's so
people
hard
talk
because there's
about
so
it,
many
too.
components to the race that so many people don't know about it. Because that was my goal, is to make it like the Danskin, where
Yeah,
that was like the biggest thing. Everyone wanted to be last, because then you got to come across with Sally Edwards. So a couple of people know, and I think they're hanging back to make sure they're last. But yeah, which is fine, right? Like, let's do
The
that so
last
everybody
person-
feels
The
like
last person came in.
this is awesome.
The first person finisher at the Danskin, it was these triathlons. So the last
Yeah.
woman finisher would
Yeah.
come in with the first woman who finished. So this woman who had this amazing time, you know, whatever, but she would
Well, it was
escort.
Sally Edwards who started it. I mean,
Right.
she,
But
actually,
that- if you
Sally
don't know
Edwards
who
founded
Sally
Fleet
Edwards-
Feet.
Right.
So, yeah. And she was the one who came up with heart rate training. So now we know all, Amber does heart rate training, she was the one who came up with it, so she was the spokesperson for these. And because she was known, like, people wanted to come in with her, so we started that, right? But again, it is that whole education of like, you can walk it, and I say it over and over, but people don't truly, I think you have to be ready to hear it.
Well, and I also
Yeah.
think the first thing of a community is intimidation. Like, I always say I'm an outgoing introvert. Like, I really just like to get along. But for my job, I have to obviously be around people and interact with them. So it's like, it's that first step of, oh, I've got to go into a space that maybe I'm not familiar with. I don't know anybody. I'm a little uncomfortable. And that's why I think you become one person to bring you in, and then you become the person who brings other people in, and then that person becomes. And I also think that's what holds people back, because most people don't like to go into an environment in a space where they don't know anybody, because it's awkward, and then you feel uncomfortable, and you're like, is anyone gonna talk to me? Should I talk to anybody? What am I gonna do? I feel weird.
Well, I think that's true of a lot of networking events.
Yeah, that's what
Right?
I mean.
Like,
So it's
go
like when
to
you
those
have
and
the
it's like-
person, right. So when you have the person, the one person to bring you in, I feel like that just kind of helps.
It's
So
funny.
I have a question for you. Do you feel like you're a whole bunch of different organizations, but yet you all managed to collect? What, like, we're talking about running or weight and fitness, but there's divergent groups there. What's the common denominator that allows you all to like mesh?
Well, at the Blake, we're
Yeah.
all nonprofits or
Okay.
in community-based organizations. So that's the one factor. It's supposed to be a co-working space specifically for not-for-profits and not-for-profit, community-based organizations. So, like-mindedness in that small and the community is, or the community is the focus, I think. But you really struck that, because I call myself an extroverted introvert all the time, so.
You're the opposite. Wait.
An
you're-
extroverted introvert.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right. It's a thing. I
It's
think
like-
it is.
I tried to be helpful, but she asked me to come here today. I was like, I have what? And that's before I've seen any email. She was like, oh no, it's just a panel talking about community and volunteerism. You'll be fine.
Yeah, but you are fine.
Meanwhile, you're ready to join Black Girls Run, and you're gonna do the fly-offers, and you're gonna do the run for women.
Right.
You know,
I just got signed up for all of this.
I would say
And all the
Olivia is the
support.
extrovert in the panel, right?
Yeah.
A little.
No, but again, it's just about like sharing my personal experiences and giving someone else that same experience so that you can break that barrier. For example, I have a lot of women in BGR that say, oh, I never wanted to join because it's Black Girls Run. And I'm like, but you just gotta show up. Like, so it's just,
I like that.
Black
just
girls
show up. Yeah, just come. Bring your coworkers, bring your friends, just show up. We'll get it done, right? And I tell a lot of women, I remember we had, I think last year we had over 200, I forgot the exact number. We had over 200 women from BGR nationwide come to Albany for the run, for the 5K. Albany, we made it like a national meetup, so we had women flying in from California, Florida. It was amazing. So we all came together, and it was because of the community that they came together. But then they got, some of them, a couple of weeks before the race, they're like, but I don't run. I'm like, just show up. You'll get there, you'll come to the finish, you'll come to the start line. You'll be in the midst of other women that are doing the same exact thing that you're doing. You're gonna finish it, you're gonna have support, you won't be alone. And so just that community thing just, brought them in. I had one lady from North Carolina that flew in. It was her first race ever. She finishes, gets back to North Carolina, calls me, she's like, Liv, oh my goodness. You know what? I met this other woman. She met a lady that she was walking with, someone from the training challenge. Oh my goodness, I forgot her name. And they linked up and you're like, where are you from? Oh, Olivia. No, Olivia was my coach because I did the run on Monday morning. I did the coaching. And they're talking and she's like, you don't have to be scared about, us being in the back. You know why? We're getting our money's worth. It's true. So for me, like when she told me, the woman said that to her, I'm like, see, but that's what it's all about. Like, it's all about changing your perspective about everything. If a race costs $35, I'm gonna enjoy everything about the race. I'm gonna get the scenery. I don't have to worry about people brushing up against me. I get to take it all in. I get to see the fast runners going by and be like, yeah. Like, it's a win-win situation. Because at the end of the day, we're all gonna cross the finish line, we're all gonna get the medal, and we all can say that we did the Delightful Run for Women. So it's like, it's mindset, really. Stepping out of our comfort zones, really, that's what it really is. And just doing the unimaginable.
And when at the end, you had to stay out in the hot, humid weather, the rainy, cold weather, the snowy, sleety weather, you stayed out there longer than those fast people.
Yeah. So we're the champs,
Well, and the effort's the same, right? It's not like you're putting in less effort. Everybody's putting in effort.
It's the same 3.1 miles.
Other questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
You asked everybody about how they got started. How did you get started? I mean, we're all so grateful that you do what you do. How did you get into what you're doing?
With the Run for Women?
Yes.
Yeah, so, we don't have to go back too far, because I'm really old now.
Oh, please.
But I moved here from Colorado. We moved in 2006. And I had done a whole bunch of Danskin triathlons. I did road races out in Colorado, which when you went to a road race there, you were with Olympians, because I lived in Boulder, so everybody was crazy athletic. So I came back and I saw this Run for Women, and I was like, whoa, that is way cool. And so signed up and started doing it, and I just thought it was awesome. And I definitely on the introverted side of things, but I would go by myself because my family was kind of like, oh, whatever, just go. So I would go to all races by myself, and I did it. And then I was in the tri community with triathlons, and so I ended up starting coaching and stuff like that. And I met one of the guys that worked on the Run for Women, and they had meetings with the media. So they had a meeting with Jen Gish, who was at the time with the Times Union, and who was it? Hughes.
Claire Hughes?
No, on Fox. She was on Fox at the time.
Ann?
Ann Hughes, thank you. And then,
Oh, she was a mentor.
yeah,
Yeah, nice.
right, and that was the very first year, so it was this media challenge. So Jen got stuck with the early morning, because she was a journalist, and so she had to go at the 6 o'clock group. And it was supposed to be this competition between the different groups, right? And it was because of these, whenever they had the meetings with the media people, they were all like, well, how do you even get started doing that? Like, I wouldn't even know how to do it, so we should have a training program. So then they decided, well, we ought to have a woman involved, and so they invited me, and said, would you be the coach? So that's how I got involved. And then every year, I just kept sticking my hand in more stuff, and, you know, like working on the expo, because nobody was doing that, and, you know, working on this and that, and so then I got into, there were 3 of us who were race directors, and then it ended up being me taking it on. So it went through a staff with a lot of men, and then me.
Well, we're grateful that you.
But like I roped these 2 into taking on the training challenge, and so, you know, been broadening out, trying to get, you know, more people involved with it. Because to me, it's such a special event. I mean, there's nothing like it, or very few things like it. And the women who came, I mean, it used to be an international race, and the women who would come over from Africa, they were like, okay, there's no way the roads would ever get shut down for us. And they just thought it was absolutely incredulous that the roads were shut down to let women run. You know, and I was like, oh, well, it's not that odd, is it? But it was, right? And just little things like that, like the elite women come in and they're like, well, you treat us so well. And we love having that opportunity to stand on a start line and have no one in front of us. You know, and so you just think, like, all these little things that it's very, very different. And so it's super special to be a part of it. So that's my goal. I'm, you know, always trying to figure out how do we grow it and how do we make it better. And so I'm open. Any ideas? I have to ask one more question on Olivia. You know how you guys always do the pictures with your feet in? Where'd you get that idea? Did you see it someplace? Or?
Al's been doing it for.
One,
You've been doing it too?
Yeah, Al always does it.
Yeah, because that's the idea I have for the shirt this year. So that's the basis of it,
Awesome.
right? Because it's hard. You want it to be inclusive, and it's so hard now coming up with more graphics. So I was like, I always, and you guys post it all the time. You have too.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
the
I
end of our
sent
groups.
that in
Yeah.
as like to the designer
That's
to say,
awesome.
can you come up with something
That
around
would be
that?
really, really cool.
Yeah. I'll send it out to
And
you.
the idea,
Review.
and
So
the
you
idea
do
is that when we have our group runs, we wait for the last person to come in. So like the rest of us are stretching and cooling out, doing our stretches or whatever. And when the last woman comes in, it's like, okay, we're all back together. We could all put our feet in, we take our picture, and then we could break.
Yeah.
Because it's, again,
They're
it's
pulling
that
together.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of gives it even more meaning then
Yeah.
too. Like that's kind of cool.
There you go. Al does it
So,
all the time.
yeah, I just love that idea, so I just thought you guys would want to know what we're doing that. Okay, we have, anybody have any other questions? Round of applause for our panelists.